Staying on with the Russia-Ukraine crisis that we have been tracking for the past few days. Now, as tensions over Ukraine are ramping up, the West fears a full-fledged invasion. Russia is moving more and more troops to the border, while world leaders continue to shuttle between capitals. So the question is there a way out of this? Any outcome will come with its own repercussions. Currently, there are few possible scenarios that could play out. First, diplomacy could prevail. World leaders are pushing hard for diplomacy to succeed. They are traveling from one capital to another with just one objective: to diffuse tensions and prevent this from escalating into a full-blown conflict. So if the West and Russia can come to a common consensus, this conflict could soon be over. But this needs at least one side to back down. And any backing down can be viewed as a loss in an already flared-up situation. So what is the other option? This brings us to the second scenario: a security deal between the NATO and Russia. Russia long believes that it was betrayed by the West, that the West broke promises made at the end of the Cold War. The promise in question is that NATO would not expand to the east. But NATO did just that. It expanded eastwards, with former Soviet Union nations joining the alliance. Putin has long argued that US broke a promise it made in 1990. While there are different interpretations on what was promised to Russian leader then, Russian President Vladimir Putin has long looked at it as a betrayal, while NATO says that it cannot compromise on its core principles of membership. Moscow and the alliance can find a common ground on other issues, like the revival of failed arms control agreements, confidence-building measures between Russian and NATO, and greater transparency over military exercises. Russia has, however, made it clear that they have one core concern: Ukraine should not join NATO. Which brings us to option number 3, a Finlandization of Ukraine. The Cold War era term was reportedly invoked by French President Emmanuel Macron. It refers to Finland's strict neutrality during the Cold War. The origin of this enshrined in a 1948 treaty with Moscow. This was when tensions between the Soviet Union and the West were at a high. Now, the deal fixed Helsinki's neutrality in place, kept it out of an emerging NATO, and impacted Finnish politics for years to come. But it is unlikely that Ukraine will support this. Neutrality will be a major concession for this country, which harbors Euro-Atlantic aspirations and also wants to join the NATO. So if Ukraine and Russia do not want to budge on their demands, an easy option would be to revive an already existing agreement, the Minsk agreement in 2014. When Russia combat forces annexed Crimea, France and Germany stepped in to help quell tensions. They together brokered a negotiating channel between Moscow and Kiev. A package of deals were negotiated, known as the Minsk agreement. Among the key takeaways was an immediate ceasefire by both the sides, withdrawal of heavy weapons, and also all foreign armed groups stationed in Ukraine territory. But this agreement fell within days. The Minsk Accord was signed to stop the conflict, but it has never really ended. But it at least carved a path towards a settlement. Western leaders have long argued that reviving the Minsk Accords could now be a solution. But both Ukraine and Russia argue that the terms are convoluted. So if nothing else works, could the standoff become the status quo? It is possible that the current standoff could continue for some time. There will be deployments, counter-deployments, and over time, the intensity of this will decrease. For now, all sides believe that diplomacy is the answer. World leaders are scrambling for a solution and troop deployments continue. While tensions continue to linger over Ukraine, only time will tell how the conflict will play out in the coming days.
Tu connais un peu l'orgue, toi ? Hein ? Tu connais un peu l'orgue ? Non.